Everyone in the gymnastics community knew Larry. He is, or was, the guru of sports medicine for our sport. I saw Larry for low back pain at MSU Sports Medicine. Treatments included vaginal penetration to treat my low back pain, during treatments, one hand would be on my low back, massaging, pressing, and one hand would be between my legs with his fingers inside me. I would cry. I would cry because it hurt. It felt like he was ripping my vagina apart. He would say, "I know it hurts." Yes, it did hurt. With my mom in the room, he would perform these treatments. He would see tears leaking out of my eyes and make comments like, "I have to get really deep in there, and I can tell it's very tight." I thought nothing of it. I was being seen by the best. I trusted him, and I trusted the treatment. I now question the intent of the comments he made. His words haunt me. Was he referring to my back or to my vagina? I have struggled with reliving these appointments, with putting my feelings into words, sharing my emotion and trying to process what happened. I trusted Larry. I believed he knew what he was doing despite me being uncomfortable. I believed the treatment would work and be beneficial. I never told anyone what happened. I was embarrassed that a doctor went to those lengths to treat me, and as time passed, I was in denial over these treatments being sexual abuse or molestation because he was the gymnastics doctor. When the pornography was found on his disposed computers, I questioned my impression of the situation. But still in my mind, to some extent, I defended him. People would ask me if I knew him. I would simply say yes, and then quickly change the subject so I didn't have to answer any further questions. People would make small talk about the latest news article, and I would walk away and hope that they had forgotten that I was once a gymnast. It wasn't until my brother saw an article and sent me a text asking if Larry had ever treated me or done these things to me. I simply replied yes. This was in 2017, and at that point, I still had no intention of coming forward. I didn't want to be another Jane Doe on the list. But as everything unfolded before my eyes, like a really bad Lifetime original movie based on true events, I gained some courage. After watching a few of my former teammates step up and say that this had happened to them also, I gained a little more. I am still ashamed this happened to me, and I can't help but think how this has impacted my life personally and professionally. Your Honor, I would like to address the defendant directly now, if I may.
You may.
Larry, how many of us are there? Do you even know? Did you keep track? Do you know the number keeps rising? And that's only the girls that are actually coming forward. How is it, Larry, that your secret was kept for so long? I have reflected on this, and the only thing that I have come up with to make sense is the following. As a competitive gymnast, we are trained to hide emotion, to control our feelings and keep a level head. Show no fear. You preyed on me, on us. You saw a way to take advantage of your position, the almighty and trusted gymnastics doctor. Shame on you, Larry. Shame on you. We trusted you were doing the right thing. We trusted you were making us better, when it was really for your own sexual gratification. How selfish. We all gave up so much as kids to spend time in the gym, school dances and football games, pep rallies, and just being kids spending time with our friends. Our love was gymnastics. We were dedicated to it, and we sacrificed so much to engage in the sport we love. When in reality, we sacrificed a lot more, didn't we? Our innocence, our trust in doctors and medical professionals, that would later transfer into adulthood, and our trust in organizations and institutions to keep us safe. They certainly didn't stand up for us. They stood up for you. They stood behind you. They safeguarded you when people spoke out. MSU did nothing to stop this. The earliest assault, according to reports, was in 1992. How is that? How is it that you had so much clout in your profession that MSU, USAG, USOC all turned a blind eye to what was going on when initial complaints came in? How did word not spread? How did it not work its way up the chain of command? What kind of relationships did you form with the presidents and administrators of these institutions that they stuck by you and swept all this under the rug? Well, guess what, Larry? None of them are standing behind you now. They are all trying to deny any responsibility, as if they never swept anything under the rug at all. They enabled this mess that you started some 20 years ago. With that, you have tainted the sport I love, that we love. You have made it so that I am embarrassed to tell people I was a gymnast. I am embarrassed to tell people that I went to Great Lakes and Twistars. Now that doesn't mean what it used to. Now it means follow-up questions like, were you one of them? Not, what level were you? You have torn apart the gymnastics world. But look at us, Larry. Look at all of us. We are here, putting it together, trying to make sense of what you did and salvage the sport. I hope your name is never brought up ever again. I hope your name is not tied to gymnastics. I hope your kids don't have to suffer in the shadow of what you did. I hope Stephanie can find peace and know that I find no fault with her. You were MSU's biggest kept secret. And even when it finally did come out, Rachel had one hell of a time. In a statement you said, "I am so horribly sorry." Then why did it go on for 20 years? You're only sorry because you got caught. After today, I will not cry anymore. I am done. I am fed up with the magnitude to which this tragedy has spiraled into. You are a disaster. Your Honor, I trust that you will take into consideration the damage this man has caused and the people and organizations that allowed and facilitated his practice of these treatments he performed. I would like to call out Luanna Simon for her cowardly behavior. Her lack of attendance to these proceedings shows just how much she really cares. Sitting from the sidelines, being a bystander, just like she did while reports surfaced. She certainly isn't showing any support for us. She is a coward and doesn't deserve to hold the title as MSU president. Her recent behavior and comments are a joke. The least she could do is step down from her position and show us a little courtesy. That is a relatively minor action considering everything that we have gone through. Every time I see her face or her name, I am disgusted at her lack of empathy. Her statements are nothing more than politically correct words strung together to save face. It's not heartfelt. It's not meaningful. In reports, she is quoted as saying, "I have been told it is virtually impossible to stop a determined sexual predator and pedophile, that they will go to incomprehensible lengths to keep what they do in the shadows." Okay, Luanna. Then why, when these allegations surfaced in the 90s, was he not fired then? Why did MSU continue to employ Larry? He wore MSU-affiliated shirts. He had an office in MSU Sports Medicine. He had business cards with MSU Sports Medicine letterhead. He was your employee, and MSU should be responsible for his actions as the employer, under their roof, in their halls, on their campus. MSU is also responsible for Kathy Klages turning a blind eye. At least she had the decency to retire. According to reports, she turned a blind eye to concerns that were brought up to her by members of the gymnastics team. She is just as much at fault. Our parents turned us over to Larry, willingly surrendered us to his care, and look what happened. Look what this has become. When girls came forward and told an adult, the adults didn't listen. Why didn't they listen? What good is it to teach children to tell an adult if the grown-up doesn't listen, doesn't take action? As coaches and officials governing our sport, why did they fail us? It boggles my mind that reports came out to MSU and they failed to investigate it. Then communication failed between MSU and USAG and USOC. Again, a disconnect. Is anyone even here from USAG, USOC? Do they care? Is there any representative here from either one of those organizations looking at our faces, seeing us stand before a courtroom, reliving the details? I just want to know if any of these major institutions are standing behind us, or if they all are on the sidelines trying to alleviate any responsibility, because it sure feels like that's the case. Your Honor, I would like to close with a sincere thank you. Thank you to you and the courts. On behalf of myself and all the other girls, for taking the time to hear each and every one of us. I am thankful that you are here and you are providing a platform for us as you determine your ruling. Thank you.
Thank you. I want you to know I see your face and the face of all of the sister survivor warriors. The whole army of you. I've heard your words. Your sister survivors and you are going through incomprehensible lengths, emotions, soul searching, to put your words together, to publicly stop defendant, to publicly stop predators, to make people listen. He's the one that needs to be ashamed. Release the shame, embarrassment, guilt that you said you have here and now. Again, like I've said before, shovel it at him. You are an advocate for all victims, for all survivors. Your strength, your courage, your words will haunt him. He may not ever admit that. All because the army of sister survivors and the world stands behind you. And you need to remember that wherever you go. Thank you so much for being here. It's my honor to have you here.
Thank you, Judge.
The next survivor you hear from is a minor. I would ask that she and her mother come to the podium.
Thank you. All right, Mom, I first need you at the microphone. Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Move right up to the podium. I need you to be right at that microphone. First, I need to ask your mom a couple questions, all right? That's okay. Right up microphone, Mom. See, I know you're not a felon because you're not used to doing that. That's a good thing. Okay. Please state and spell your name for the record.
Leslie Miller, Leslie Miller.
And you are the mother and guardian of this lovely woman next to you?
Yes.
And how old is she?
15.
And being 15, she's a minor, and you're allowing her to speak and tell her story?
Yes.
And do you think it's in her best interest to do so?
Yes.
And you've talked with her about this?
Yes.
And about what it might mean to go public?
Yes.
And did anyone force, threaten, coerce you, or promise you, or pay you anything for this?
No.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, this is Emma Ann Miller.
Thank you. All right, with your mom by your side, please state and spell your name for the record.
Emma Ann Miller, EMMAANNMILLER.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. What would you like us to know?
May it please the court, my name is Emma Ann Miller, and I'm 15 years old. Today, I'm going to talk about my relationship with Nassar, and I'm going to talk to Nassar, and I'm going to give him some advice. I'm also here to talk to you, the court, and I'm going to give this court some advice. And I also want to talk to MSU to give him a forewarning. May I proceed?
You may.
Your Honor, it's always been just my mom and I. I needed a positive male role model in my life. Nassar filled that spot for me. He has known me since my mom gave birth to me and has watched me grow up. I trusted him like a family member. There has never been a time in my life when I didn't know Larry Nassar. But now, I wish I'd never met him. I saw him once or twice a month at my mom's appointments. Then later, when I was 10, I was a monthly patient treating for a back injury. He was a world-renowned doctor. I was honored to be a patient, but more importantly, a friend of his. He even had a nickname for me, Goofball. But this nickname will forever haunt me with the trauma he has caused me. He put my picture up on his wall with the Olympians. I thought I mattered to Larry. I thought I was special. You made us all feel like we were special, but not in the way we wanted to be special. I, too, was sexually assaulted by Larry Nassar, multiple times at multiple appointments. My last treatment was in August 2016. A week later, he was let go by MSU. I'm possibly the last child he will ever assault. MSU Sports Medicine charged me for those appointments. My mom is still getting billed for appointments where I was sexually assaulted. May I address the defendant?
You may.
I have never wanted to hate someone in my life, but my hate towards you was uncontrollable. Larry Nassar, I hate you. I will work on forgiving you, as I know that is what God wants. But at this moment, I will leave forgiveness up to him. There is one thing you could do to help with the forgiveness. Instead of just sitting there acting weak and feeble, you could start writing down each and every time MSU, Twist Stars, and USAG could have stopped you. And instead of getting up at your sentencing, giving some hollow, insincere apology, you could outline all the times for me, for us, that MSU, Twist Stars, and USAG should have stopped you. You were too brazen, too cavalier, you flaunted it. Don't try and apologize or rationalize. Don't use cliches like a match in a forest fire. If you want to salvage yourself, you need to begin the reformation process. You need to do redeeming acts. You need to put others first. Do the right thing for us. Be honest. Try and help us. Tell us who knew what and when. Tell us how and when there were opportunities to stop you. Tell us about the tail signs that others at MSU, Twist Stars, and USAG should have seen but didn't. and one of your last public acts actually help someone. Of course, we are aware that some knew, but there are likely many, many more opportunities these institutions and individuals had to stop you, long before Rachel and the Indy Star article surfaced. You could talk about the time Coach Klages called you to discuss the allegations that Larissa Boyce made about you sexually assaulting her back in 1997. Or the conversations that you had with Stemple. See, I am familiar with what Mark Twain said about rumors, that a rumor travels halfway around the world. If you aren't familiar with Twain, trust me, you'll have a time to look it up. So don't tell us that you never got that phone call from Klages. Someone like Larissa Boyce doesn't make an assertion like she did against a doctor like you, to your friend Klages, of sexual assault, and it just sits there. We know you two spoke about it. We know you had a phone call. Please, Larry, help my sisters. This would be a redeeming act. Please don't waste your elocution on your grief, your regret, or any other emotion. Don't tell us how you and God have made amends or how you are different. You need to confess the facts. You can help others. And if you do, if you help my sisters, it might help in my forgiveness and maybe others. It might not lower your sentence, but it might just start you down a road of reformation and redemption. Just remember, Larry, it's never too late to do the right thing. Now to the court. I am more than how he treated me. I am not letting him take any more time away from me. No more time at appointments. No more time being misled. And no more time being manipulated. Years of monthly appointments, including the supply room. Yeah, the supply room is long enough. Do you think that is long enough, Judge?
I think it's long enough, it's over.
And so here's some advice, Judge. Don't be afraid. A 40-year minimum sentence is not long enough, and it doesn't send the right message. See, Judge, I doubt the Attorney General, this court, or his defense attorneys knew what was coming, allowing all of us to speak. None of you could have anticipated the breadth or the depth of the statements, but he knew. It is the reason why he wrote the letter. He knew it was coming, and just like he should have been, he was afraid. And Judge, I've heard you say that he will rot in prison, that he will not see the light of day again. But this is not true. When his day of judgment comes before you, you are not sending him to a place to rot, and you are not stopping the light of day from coming to Nassar. No, Judge, you're going to save his life. He will go to federal prison. In fact, he will be treated fairly well in prison. I know, and Nassar knows, that federal prison is the best place for him. He will likely make friends. He will be able to manipulate and maybe earn some semblance of respect among the prison inmates that are his new counterparts. He will be fed, he will be clothed, and he will be provided actual medical treatment. But don't get too excited, Larry. You will probably never talk to a woman again. Except for one holding a gun, a taser, and a billy club. Which is a good thing. I'm smart enough, wise enough, and been advised enough that simply because he treated us in despicable and inhumane ways doesn't mean that that is how our system, treats the worst of the worst. But, Your Honor, just for a moment, could you imagine what kind of life he would live if he wasn't in prison? He would have to face his accusers in the grocery store, at the gas station, and in the pews at Mass. Anywhere and everywhere. My sisters would be there just like they are today, yesterday, and tomorrow. And every tomorrow until that. But that is not who we are. Just because he failed to treat us with process and procedure, just because he treated us like an object, doesn't mean that we are reduced to him. Nassar has done something few people can do in their lifetime, like how Kleenex is actually a corporate brand that many use in everyday vocabulary to describe a tissue. He has forever identified his name with child sexual abuse. His legacy as a medical god has been poisoned by his sickening desire to molest children. Long after the Olympic gymnast doctor fades into a trivia fact known only by us or a Jeopardy contestant, the word Nassar will permanently be associated with child sexual abuse. Kind of like Jack the Ripper, Son of Sam, or Lee Harvey Oswald. You get the picture. But this, for me, it's not about Nassar. Well, maybe a little bit. His sentence will, for me, say more about you. I know you are a mother, and we have heard from a number of mothers. I know you are a lawyer, and we have heard from a number of lawyers. Like you, strong, successful lawyers. You have served our country in the noblest of ways in the military. Some of us are, or have, served in the military. You have overcome. And all of us, yes, all of us have overcome. I suspect that you too could post "me too," and all of us could post "me too." In regards to actually sentencing defendants, you have handed out life sentences with no opportunity for parole for defendants convicted of murder. And like those defendants, we know that Nassar knows. We know that Nassar has been the cause of some of my sisters' untimely deaths or attempted suicides. You have sentenced other defendants for longer sentences. Your sister, Judge Neff, sentenced him to 60 years for a heinous crime, but not as bad as what you have been exposed to for over a week. I don't think anyone believes that having a picture on your computer is even close to taking an underage patient into a supply room to be sexually assaulted. Does anyone really think that? So, Judge, you may be able to guess what I'm going to say, but say it I will. No one is better suited to sentence this defendant in this case right here, right now, in this moment. Maybe, just maybe, God works in mysterious ways that your whole life has been leading up to this moment. But I suspect that you've had many moments like this in their own unique way. So here's the deal. I know that if you exceed the plea agreement, Nassar has the right to withdraw his plea. And then he would have to make a decision. Either go to trial or accept the sentence. Make him have to make that decision. That might be the only real punishment that Nassar faces in this case, besides having to sit through my sister's compelling, tearful, and beautiful statements. Statements that are all gold medal winners, by the way. We know that he doesn't want to face us. He told you so in his letter. I'm not afraid of him. My sister's survivors are not afraid of him. Please, don't be afraid to do the right thing and send the right message. I said it before, and I'll say it again. 40 years is not enough. Any message that you send at this point will be heard around the world. Send one that reflects the gravity and devastation that he has caused. A minimum sentence of 125 years. He should be grateful for such a sentence. Now to MSU. Are you listening, MSU? I can't hear you. Are you listening? My name is Emma Ann Miller, and I'm 15 years old, and I'm not afraid of you, nor will I ever be. At 15, I shouldn't know the inside of a courtroom, but I'm going to become real comfortable in one. So should you. See, MSU, sometimes circumstances determine our fate, and sometimes we determine the circumstance. I, like all of those that have spoken or will speak, didn't choose this circumstance to have the right to be standing in front of this podium today. Nassar made that choice for us. Your 20-year child molesting employee. This is a burden at 15 I shouldn't have to bear. But believe me, MSU, bear I will. As Nassar's story fades into a federal prison cell for the rest of his life, my story, our story, mine and yours, is going to be titled Miller versus MSU. I know you write books, Your Honor. What do you think of Chapter 1? Don't piss off 150 women that you've sexually assaulted for 20 years. But let me get back to the point. MSU, it's time for me to determine the circumstance. And that circumstance is going to be pointed right at you. Yeah, right at you, MSU. I don't have to be ashamed or anti-MSU. I can be a Spartan if I choose. I can yell, "Go green, go green." Let me say that again, Judge, because I don't think the crowd heard me. Go green! Go away! I can root for Miles Bridges if I want, and still hold you, MSU, accountable. And I will. You are no more powerful than Nassar. You don't hold any power over me either, and never will. And not just MSU, but all the individuals who could have stopped this. Every single one of them. We know there are many that could have stopped this. We also know that you, MSU, know that denial is not just a river in Africa. I've heard your denials, but I will not rest until I hear more, until every single fact and stone is uncovered. In painful, excruciating detail. You're going to want to squeeze your eyes shut, like some of my sisters did, and grab onto something tight, like some of my sisters did. like you are being bent over in a supply room with a 50-something-year-old creep sliding his ungloved hand into your most intimate, sacred, private, and the best part of my story, entitled Miller versus MSU, the most uplifting, inspirational part, I know I'm not alone, and I believe this is not over. See, Your Honor, we are just getting started. Thank you.
And you could write books. You've got to have.
Thank you.
I hope you do write that book. I think it would be uplifting. You are very prolific. Your words are as strong as any gun, taser, or billy club. You need to keep on talking. You're very special. You are
Thank you.
much older than your age. Your sister survivor warriors stand with you. Thankfully, defendant's not a cat with 9 lives. I know you want me to go outside of the plea agreement, but with the plea agreement, with 3 strong judges who've heard your message and the message of all of the army of survivor women, he's not going to harm anyone. And contrary to the statements that being in federal court or federal prison, the federal system is no picnic. Maybe for Martha Stewart, because she baked well. But I assure you, there isn't anyone in prison who hasn't heard about this case, who hasn't heard your voice. And if they haven't heard it, they will. They have families out there. They take your words seriously, even behind bars. So it will not be a picnic for him as you imagine. Your words, your advice, are as wise as any detective, lawyer, or prosecutor. Maybe one day I'll see you practice law in front of me. I don't know what your plans are, but you are going places despite defendant. You have an enormous rippling effect on the world. And
Thank
with
you.
with your sister survivors, you stand stronger and stronger, and this power of strength is getting larger, wider, deeper, taller. Keep talking. And you know, you are one of the people who stood in front of me, and you're healing yourself every time you talk and every time your mother hugs you. I feel your mother's taken away your pain, your words have taken away. Leave your pain here and go out and do those magnificent things that I know you were born to do. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we need to take 15 minutes. Thank you. All right.